Now I am. All right, so some signs of a deficiency. We talked about this. A lot of these are super common sense, you guys. If I don't have amino acids, if I am deficient, if I am anorexic or I'm not being fed, I'm going to break down my skeletal muscle because I still need amino acids. If I break down skeletal muscle, I'm going to lose weight. Plus, you've got to assume I'm not just deficient on amino acids, am I? I'm going to be deficient in everything. So I'm not only now breaking down the muscle for the amino acids, I'm also breaking down the adipose tissue for the carbs and the fats. Anorexia, dull hair coat, we talked about all of this yesterday. Immunodeficiency, we don't have our protein pen. Poor mentation, this guy's not learning any new tricks. Generalized edema, we talked about that. It's fluid accumulating in the tissues. And then you're gonna die because of the effect to the heart. And in fact, in anorexic animals like this, even anorexic people, one of the major health concerns is congestive heart failure because of the breakdown of the heart muscle.
Get skinny too?
Oh, heck. Well, yeah. I mean, anorexia is anorexia. I mean, now in humans, it's more of emotional, behavioral condition.
On purpose?
Not necessarily on purpose. It is.
But some do.
It's an illness. So having an illness in a dog that prevents them from eating, and in a person, it doesn't have to be a physical illness. It's still an illness, but it prevents them from eating for whatever reason. But the outcome is the same. So some of our amino acids, we're going to talk about the specific amino acids today. But if we're missing even one Lego, the whole thing comes crashing down. For example, we talked yesterday about arginine. Arginine converts ammonia. As our body goes through its normal physiological jobs, one of the byproducts that it creates is ammonia, just like the bleach in your bathroom. Well, this ammonia is far too dangerous to transport, so our arginine converts it into urea, which is then excreted as our urine. Without arginine, we're going to have ammonia circulating in our blood, and well, you're going to die because you can't survive if you have bleach in your body.
Is that higher in cats? Because
Much.
when they pee, they stink really bad like that?
Yeah, so male cats have a much higher ammonia content.
For when they mark their territory.
And so it is for marking.
Mm-hmm.
And even though their body, their kidneys have converted it into urea, you still have that super concentrated. Mm-hmm. It's one of those smells that will knock you over, make your eyes water. My best friend works for SPCA. He's actually the coordinator for the whole facility. And so he goes out on the hoarding cases.
Oh my God.
And there have been a couple of times he used to, before COVID, kind of screw, I almost said a naughty word, screw things up. He used to come and just live at my house for like 2 weeks because he lived across the street and he also worked here before he worked at SPCA. So to get away from the students, because he'd be out walking his dog after hours and some student, oh, can I switch my husbandry shift? Yeah, so he'd just come stay at my place. But you always knew afterwards when he'd come and visit me when he'd been on a hoarding case at SPCA, because the smell would permeate into his skin.
Oh God, so gross. And
there were times where he would come to the house and his eyes would be bloodshot red and swollen. And I'm like, what?
How can people live like that?
What has been happening with this? What is happening? He's like, did a hoarding case today. And the smell of ammonia was so desperate that it physically burned his eyes.
Oh.
So do they have to wear like certain kind of masks so
Oh,
that
they use-
it doesn't interrupt their lungs?
Yeah, they wear respirators.
Yes.
Not just a mask, but he has the full, like Darth Vader looking respirator.
And then not to mention, it's also very oily.
It is, and so it just permeates everything. It's disgusting. But yeah, arginine is what converts that ammonia into urea. Methionine and cysteine, These two amino acids help to convert adipose tissue into usable energy. And then finally, taurine is essential in the cat. And without taurine, our cats go blind and they develop heart failure and they die. Not essential in the dog, which is why you cannot feed cats like they are little dogs. You feed a cat dog food, what are they most likely not getting?
Taurine.
Taurine. And because cats do produce more ammonia, guess what? We also need a higher amount of, yes.
You said, I can't even say the words. Methionine and.
Oh, methionine,
Methionine.
methionine and cysteine.
What did they do?
Those two help to catabolize adipose tissue when you need energy. So for example, right now, think of them, let me give you just a very simple analogy. Right now, I have not eaten breakfast. I've not eaten since.
Did you even have dinner?
Did I eat last night?
Yeah, no, you didn't if you're thinking about it.
No, I did. I had a pasta bowl, a Stouffer's pasta bowl. It was disgusting. I ate like half of it.
That's why you couldn't
Gross.
remember.
It was disgusting. But I'm using energy. So where am I getting this energy? My storage unit. But if you think of methionine and cysteine, they're the runners telling Carl, pull more out, pull more out, pull more out. They're acting like a cell phone, even though they're not cells. I told you, I warned you, Douglas is in a weird place today. So they're the ones that are getting the message and telling Carl, pull more out, pull more out. Without them, Carl doesn't get the message to pull it out. That sounded not happy. Okay.
That sounds happy.
He doesn't get the message to pull the fat out of the storage unit to be catabolized. It's all your fault. That's what they do.
Look at Stanley's doing, huh?
This was just some terminology as well as some dosages.
Oh wait, this is the page we didn't have, right?
This was the one you didn't have.
Oh, yeah, I wrote that right down.
Let's make sure everyone wrote this down.
Okay, I wrote that.
2 kilograms per 10 kilograms body weight for our dogs. I pushed a button by accident. 3 to 4 grams per kilogram in our cats. And then we had our acronyms. DMB is dry matter basis. This is where we mathematically remove the water. As fed is the pet food as found in the packaging. ME is the amount of energy we are acquiring from the food.
And that's only roughly 2.2 pounds into 1 kilogram.
And that was when we discussed the conversion of pounds into kilograms, and there are 2.2 pounds for every kilogram. So if you have a 2.2 pound animal, it would weigh 1 kilogram. Cats are specifically adapted for a high protein, low carbohydrate diet. This is, I'm not giving you any new information here. They're obligate carnivores, meaning they need protein. We have 2 different ways that we can get amino acids. We get amino acids from animal protein, eating meat. We also have amino acids that can be made available through plant material. Dogs and humans are omnivores, meaning that we can get amino acids from both sources. Now, there are some that we can only get from animal, and there are some we can only get from plants, but we need both. Cats cannot use the amino acids that we get out of plant material. All of their amino acids have to be obtained through animal-based protein. And then, of course, if we get a fat cat, that's probably one of the worst things you can have because there's no way to get the weight off. Because we know that their liver is very, very limited in its ability to convert stored energy And we end up with hepatic lipidosis.
And when they have that, that's when they get the jaundice, right?
Yep. So our cats, as we have said over and over and over, they are dependent on gluconeogenesis. Now this is external. Cats will eat like 12 to 20 small meals in a 24-hour period. And we really need to educate our owners about this because the owner is then going to decide that the cat is finicky. The cat goes over to the bowl, very cat-like manner, and eats 1 or 2 kibbles and then flicks its tail and stalks away. And the owner thinks, what? He doesn't like the food.
Yeah,
So what does the owner do?
try to get new food.
Changes the food. How well the cats deal with change?
Not good.
They don't.
And they're picky, and they're brats.
Well, technically, are they really picky though? Are they?
No.
They're really not, because the reason why they're doing so many small meals is because their bodies are not trying to put stuff in the storage unit. Their blood glucose starts to drop, they eat a small meal, blood glucose rises. Blood glucose drops, we eat, it rises. And instead of my body pulling stuff out of the storage unit, they just continuously go back to the food bowl.
I probably feed my cats like 8 to 10 times a day. Cause I have to feed them separate, but my one cat will jump up on the little thing where I put the food bowl and he looks at you like, are you gonna put it out? But he doesn't eat a lot. So I gotta set it out all the time.
Well, that's why it's easier to free feed unless you have to separate them.
Yeah, I was until he has to be on medicated food and the other one.
Oh, Lord, yeah, so that's all you. Here we have jaundice. This is not photoshopped. This is what a jaundice cat looks like. And when you see this, it's an immediate liver and fava beans. We started talking about calculating out our crude protein. Now this is going to give you a guesstimation of the amount of protein. It's only a guesstimation because we're using truly the nitrogen. Crude protein does not have anything to do with the actual protein. It has to do with the amount of nitrogen. On average, it contains 16%. I've said that 1,042 times. And so the first thing that we need to do, because this is only going to be truly helpful if we are comparing foods of different consistencies, wet to dry. So if we have pet food B that has 8% crude protein and is a dry food, or a canned food rather, and pet food A has 25 and is a kibble, we want to compare the amounts of protein. Joe Schmo on the street is going to look at these two numbers and assume which one has more protein.
The kibble.
Pet food A, because 25 is bigger than 8. But this doesn't refer to the percentage of protein.
Right.
So the first thing we need to do is mathematically remove the water. The total volume of food is 100% of the food. The amount of moisture will be given to you on the package. You just subtract it from 100. That gives you your dry matter. And what dry matter is literally anything that is not water. So our canned food ends up with 25% dry matter, and our kibble ends up with 90% dry matter. Again, the moisture is something that will be given. You don't have to guess about that. It's going to be printed on the back. Then what we do is we have a very simple formula. We take the crude protein, also given to you on the bag. We divide it by the dry matter, and we get a percentage. So here our canned food, we take our 8% crude protein, got it off the bag, 25% dry matter, calculation we just did. We end up with a percentage of 32. The kibble, do the exact same thing. Take the crude protein, divide it by the dry matter, get a percentage. The kibble is 28%. So in fact, the food that we originally thought had more protein does in fact have less. I know.
Is that with all wet food, you think, or no? Usually, do they usually?
Nope, you're gonna have to do the calculations because it's not across the board.
Okay.
So unfortunately, the amount of information that our pet food companies are required to give us has very little to do with what is in the bag. It has a lot more to do with marketing. We're going to talk about marketing here in another week or so. They don't have to tell us what amino acids are included in the food. Now, there is a baseline bare minimum nutritional requirement that is set for each species. And I have to meet that bare minimum in order for me to call my food complete and balanced. If I have a cat food that does not contain taurine, is it going to be complete and balanced?
No.
No. If it doesn't have the increased amounts of arginine, is it complete and balanced? It is not. So I do have a bare minimum of what has to be in there, but they don't have to tell us. It's best to directly contact the manufacturer. And in fact, one of the things that I look at, I've talked to you about the feeding requirements. I look at how much do you have to feed? How much information do they give you to contact them?
It's like this little bitty section.
The more information they give you to contact them, in my mind, the less they have to hide. But we all have a tiny computer in our pockets, don't we?
I look at it.
So if there's a website on the bag, take a minute and look it up and see what is available. When we are feeding protein, if we're feeding a lower quality of protein, we're going to have to feed a higher quantity. Let me put that in another way that I've already talked about. Low quality food, you've got to feed more of it. And I did my little chain, Lego chain. And in the low quality food, I could only break off maybe 1 or 2 of the Legos. Everything else went to the storage or went to the colon. But in the high quality food, I broke apart all of them. And so in order to get the same nutrition, I have to feed more of the chains of Legos of the low quality. But it also means that a whole lot more stuff is going to the colon, which means what?
More poop.
More poo.
So the less poop, the better food, right?
Theoretically, yes.
Pretty much.
If we're talking about a healthy animal.
Yeah.
Theoretically, yes, a higher quality food is going to result in less stool,
Cool. My cat and I poop like once a day, both of them.
as they should,
And it doesn't really stink because their food's like really good food.
as that's awesome. I had a dream last night that I adopted a kitten. That just came back to me. How weird is that?
It's a sign from God.
But it looked like a potato. I have the
Was
most.
it a boy cat?
That was just Bask
No,
visiting
it
you?
was, you
Girl
guys
cats are
don't
evil.
even know. I
I
love
totally
my brain.
understand where
Maybe
you're
the
coming
cat's
from,
name is
'cause
gonna be potato.
I can relate to that like crazy.
I have the most vivid, crazy, bizarre dreams.
And then you can't remember them when you wake
And
up.
I was sneaking around and there was this big like grocery bag of kittens, like a
Oh.
big brown grocery bag. And there was this one little kitten, but it was a potato. But it was a kitten.
But
And
in
I
your
don't
mind-
know. I knew in my dream it was a kitten, but
Like
it
a
was
little
in fact a
fatty.
potato. I know. That just came back to me. I don't know
That's
how
funny.
that just flooded back to me. Kookaroo.
I have weird dreams where I do that all the time. And then I don't remember them until later in the day, and then I'm like, why did I dream that?
It's
I-
whenever I wake up in the morning about 2 o'clock, check my alarm, make sure it's still on, and then I go back to sleep. It's whenever I have those dreams.
All right, so now we're going to discuss the individual amino acids. Now, a lot of these, so we're going to discuss the essential amino acids. Essential means we got to take them in our diet. Non-essential means we are taking some of these bippity boppity boo and we can create these for ourselves. We're going to go over these. Now, a lot of these have very similar jobs in the body, and so I've bundled them. And so you'll notice on the PowerPoint, it's the teeniest, cutest little PowerPoint, seriously, you've ever seen. But on some of the slides, I will have 2 or 3 amino acids because they either enhance the work of each other or they do a very similar job. The other thing that I've done, because it is a tremendous amount of information that I've thrown at you. For this PowerPoint, the amino acids PowerPoint, I have highlighted in red what is testable.
Awesome.
Cool.
So the stuff that I want you to know about these individual amino acids is highlighted. So arginine, we know, converts what into what?
Okay.
Ammonia into urea. Absolutely. Another thing that it does is it helps with our blood vessels. If puppies are deficient in arginine, well, it causes some pretty big issues. They'll develop cataracts, and if felines are deficient because they have such a higher production of ammonia, they'll die. They'll develop ammonia toxicity and they will die. So higher amounts, higher percentages of arginine in the cat in comparison to the dog.
Can that cause like blockages in cats or no?
No, not really. When are you talking about like a urinary block, like Block-Tom disease?
Yeah, kind of.
No, that's going to be minerals.
Okay.
And we're going to talk about that when we get into our non-energy producing nutrients. Arginine is found in animal tissue. Hence them being obligate carnivores. They have to get the higher amounts of arginine from animal-based proteins.
That was evil.
The cat is hypersalivating.
I thought it was
And that, those are not teeth, that is drool.
So they're saying.
And hypersalivation in a cat with ammonia toxicity is one of the first clinical signs.
Oh.
So yeah, they'll have the hypersensitivity or the toxicity and the hypersalivation. A drooling cat is not normal. Cats should not drool unless you have one of those bizarre cats when you stroke them under their chin and
Yeah.
they immediately start drooling. Yeah, my old cat Toshiba used to do that, and my significant other's cat Brantley does that. If you touch anywhere near his chin, he's just like a faucet. It just starts dripping on you. It's disgusting.
Mm.
But hypersalivation and open mouth breathing, we all now know, super
My cat
not
does
good
that all
in
the
cats.
But he runs around like a cyclone and does it.
Yeah, open mouth breathing is never normal in cats. So here we have the hypersalivation secondary to the ammonia toxicity.
What about when they sniff and they open their mouth? You know what I'm talking about? Like,
That's a little bit
That's the
different
goat face.
because they do have scent receptors in their circummoral glands.
Inside their mouth.
Inside their cheek pouches. So you will see them, you also see it in the big cats,
Yeah.
specifically
Mhm.
lions,
Yeah.
because they can detect other males. The males are the ones that typically do it,
yeah, that's
but
what I have.
they can detect where a female is coming into heat, because you know female cats have a weird reproductive cycle. They do. It's odd. They're aliens.
Everything
But they can
that's-
also tell if there's another male. And then moms can use it to detect where are the babies. And what you'll see, I'm going to get naked for a minute, is the cat is not open mouth panting, but the cat will kind of do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so funny, Logan.
And what they're doing is they're bringing the air in over that gland. And that's an additional sensory gland
So
that
then
they
why do
have.
goats do it?
Oh, goats are disgusting.
Like when they smell their own pee and stuff, they do that
Excuse me,
ugly
ma'am.
face.
No.
Goats are gross. Goats urinate. Male goats urinate all over their heads because it's
Yeah.
like Axe body spray. for the
Male
females.
goats are
Yes,
disgusting.
yeah, they're.
Male goats are disgusting, and they have a prehensile penis that they can aim,
Yeah, that's weird.
and that's why you never tuck your pants in at the boot, into your boots at the farm, because they'll aim and they'll pee into your boot,
Yeah, they're weird.
and they have square pupils.
Yeah,
Your
that's
eyes
weird.
are weird. They look all just.
Do what?
When you took it off, I was like, this is his hub.
Yeah. Hey guys,
Look at you.
it's my face.
So I'm so used to seeing just.
I
I
know.
forget sometimes that we have.
We only get to see
I
like
have a
once a week.
lower part to my face.
We only get to see you once a week. It's Fridays, and the
I know.
video looks different, than person.
And the problem, I'm very expressive. But like under my mask, I'm like, my mouth is just doing all this like, and you guys can't see any of it.
Very facial.
Different too.
Do what?
Your voice kind of sounds different. too.
Without the mask on? Well, it's muffling the vibrations going into your ears. All right, so these three, leucine, isoleucine, and valine, these three work together for a common good. What these do is they help to prevent atrophy. Tell me what atrophy is. Breakdown of muscle tissue. These three are going to shift the cells towards catabolizing other than anabolizing. No, anabolizing. Sorry, I did that backwards, didn't I? Anabolizing to build up versus catabolizing to break down. So it's these three amino acids that help prevent your muscles from atrophy, which is a great thing because honestly, if we didn't have these three working towards this common good, the amount that we truly use our muscles, they would be wasted away and we'd have little toothpick arms. I mean, seriously, probably the heaviest thing that I carry during the day is my computer bag to and from my car, right? Up here, I'm just kind of, well, I'm always very animated up here, but you know, it's not like I'm lifting weights. It's not like I'm exercising. It's these three, because with muscles, we know the rule, if you don't use it,
You lose it.
you lose it. Well, these are preventing me from losing it, even though I'm not using them to the fullest of their capacity. It's not to say that your muscles can't get weak even with these, just saying they're not going to get catabolized away. And these represent at least a third of all of the amino acids in your muscle proteins. And I got a picture there of muscle atrophy. You can see the femur right through that quadriceps muscle. So that's leucine, isoleucine, and valine, or valine, depending on who taught you. I say valine. So you guys are doing protozoal parasites in Lab Pro?
We're on nematodes. We're on nematodes. Worms. Ugh. Those are disgusting.
Hookworms and roundworms and whipworms, oh my.
They're disgusting.
Or we can do.
I can deal with the leg stuff. I can't deal with the worms.
I love
Ugh.
parasites. I'm
So good.
They're so
I
fascinating.
know.
So fascinating.
One of my friends' cats threw up tapeworms one time.
Ugh.
She's like, I'm not touching that. I'm like, it's your cat. You can pick it up. She's like, I'm not touching it. I said, fine. I'll clean up your cat infested worm thing, and I'll clean up the floor.
It might not have been tapes, it might have been rounds or hooks, because tapeworms are pretty common. Was it little white rice or was it big chunks of spaghetti pasta?
Spaghetti.
It's gonna be roundworms or
Roundworms.
hookworms, probably roundworms. Yeah,
I hate when they poop them out and they're still moving.
Oh.
so the tapeworms, they
They were
usually poop
moving.
them out, but see, tapeworms have these little segments called proglottids.
So they break down into
tapeworms are the ones
segments.
that are
Tapeworms look
rice-like.
like little white rice.
Oh, I always thought that was roundworms.
No,
Those are
that's
the egg
tapeworm.
sacs, right?
They're
That's the, it's actually broken up
hermaphroditic.
into pieces.
I can't
And
say
they
that.
break off, and that is the egg sac. And then they have egg bundles inside the egg sac.
And then the flea larvae eat it and then it goes.
Yep.
in there, and
This
then
circle of life.
And then we had to like know the difference between the Tania tapeworm and then the food tapeworm. And when I tell you, I associate them with like jelly beans and then
Oh, yeah.
overlap. That was that.
You, one is angel hair pasta, one is spaghetti pasta.
I was just like,
Yeah.
I love this meme. I did break this up with some memes because I thought they were adorable. I love this. This pensive pug. I don't know, man. What if I never find out who's a good boy? 'Cause you know that's how you talk to. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? I don't know. Just tell me.
I usually tell them.
You are.
Yeah.
All right, lysine and methionine. Now together, this is important. Together, these two combine and they form a non-essential carnitine. Now you may have seen, for those of you that drink those horrible energy drinks, the Monster and the,
Bang. That was me.
Red Bulls.
what is it, Bang?
Mhm.
Bang.
I was like, good.
Yeah, horrible, horrible. But you may see on there that they have carnitine. That's in fact how they are giving you energy, is they have large amounts of carnitine. Carnitine are these two Legos, lysine and methionine, joined together. That makes a new structure, carnitine. And what carnitine does is it helps to break down your fats for energy. Have you ever wondered how an energy drink gives you energy if it doesn't have caffeine?
Oh, yeah.
How does an energy drink give you energy? That's weird. What it does is it has high amounts of carnitine, which automatically goes to work breaking down your adipose tissue and converting it into energy. So that's how you get these drinks without the caffeine and without the sugars, still giving you energy because it's over highly catabolizing your fat stores and converting it into energy.
They're so gross.
Well, we now know though, that's why they're so bad for you. Because if I break down, I'm going to do this in medical terminology. If I over-catabolize my adipose tissue, remember I start developing my ketone bodies and my kidneys can't keep up. And my ketone bodies go back into circulation, causing my pH to turn acidic, ketoacidosis, also really hard on the liver. So that's why those energy drinks, I mean, in moderation, I can't say no. But that's why if you drink an excessive amount, you could go into liver failure because of the over-catabolization of the adipose tissue. You're also going to become acidotic, and that's going to shut down your kidneys. And it's where you see people who drink a lot of those energy drinks. You've heard the horror stories. Kidney liver failure.
I know that girl drank two, and then she like had a heart attack and like died.
I thought I was, I kid you not, I drank one of the big ones, I don't know what kind it was, but then I had a game and I cheered at, and I went to do it, whatever, and I had to stop because my heart was like, it felt like it was just squeezing, and I had to sit there and just stop for a second.
Yeah, they're not good for you.
Oh no, I have not drank one since then.
They are not. I have had a Red Bull in my day, but there was something else mixed in it.
Yeah, come on, yeah.
Those are so gross.
Oh no, they're not.
It tastes like cough syrup.
Try with the glass and
It's good.
cranberry juice.
Girl, you know it.
All right, so lysine. Let's talk about lysine on its own for a minute. Cats can develop a form of herpes. Now, this is a different form of herpes than what you guys are thinking of right now. Okay, it is not a sexually transmitted, well, it can be.
Is it because of the
But it
plastic on the
doesn't-
bowls?
It does not affect the genitals like human herpes. Feline herpes virus is a respiratory virus, as most feline viruses are. Lysine has been shown to help benefit. It won't cure it. Herpes is not curable. Not in the cat, not in the person. It's reoccurring. But lysine has shown to decrease the clinical signs of cat infected with respiratory herpes. And the other thing that we see with lysine is it's incredibly sensitive to heat. So you guys probably have never wondered this, but have you ever wondered when you're looking at like a packaged meal and it says to put it in the oven at this temperature for this length of time, how do they know? What is it that they know that says cook it at this temperature but not this temperature? It's one of the things I think of. Okay, again, I sometimes love and hate, both hate and love my brain. some of the things that they are looking at are markers. I want to cook the food so that any pathogens are killed, but I don't want to overcook the food to where the nutrients are rendered unusable. Because at certain temperatures, certain nutrients begin to break down and my body can't use them. So they got to get in that sweet spot. I need the temperature and the length of time that kills the pathogens, but I also need a temperature and length of time that's not going to degrade. Lysine is one of the things that they use as their marker because it is so sensitive to heat. They're going to look at the time and the temperature to where lysine begins to break down, and then they have an idea of exactly the temperature and the time you should be cooking your food. That's cool. I love saying this one. It reminds me of the Smurfs. Do you guys know the Smurfs?
Yeah.
Do you guys know the Smurf song? That's it. La 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 la. Well, this is phenylalanine. It just, I don't know why. It reminds me of the Smurfs. Phenylalanine. This is a key amino acid that is involved in melanin production. Not to be confused with melatonin.
Okay.
Melanin does what? It's the color of the skin and the hair. We also see that phenylalanine helps to create another non-essential amino acid, but it is primarily melanin production. Where we see this, okay, so last term you guys went over your cat colors. I know that, what is color is this? What color? This is a seal point.
Red and black.
The points are going to be face, ears, feet, and tail.
Oh.
Right, you have your flame point.
Yeah, I just said it.
Yeah.
You have your blue
I was
point.
thinking like color, not like pattern and.
Yeah, so this color though is seal point.
Yeah.
And then you had like the orange, which is your flame points, etc. But these, and Siamese are one of the cats that we see this seal point on. Well, if you are a breeder, the whole promise behind how much your cat is going to be worth is the coloration. That's what people pay the big bucks for. Otherwise, why somebody would pay money for a cat, I would never know, ever, ever.
I got mine for free.
I don't pay money for a cat, let me tell you.
But what I'm looking for is a dramatic difference between the darks and the lights. I want the seal points to pop.
Right.
So what do I supplement the kittens with while their colors are forming? Phenylalanine. I start supplementing the phenylalanine because it will increase the melanin production and it will really cause those seal points to pop against the cream color.
Is that what they do, like for like, you know, your silver bangles and stuff like that too?
No, not really. The only one I'm really aware of is with the points, the seal points. Now, phenylalanine does also have a role in producing some other hormones, like dopamine. Probably heard the term dopamine. I know we talked about dopamine in relation to our brain and its functions.
They feel good, right?
Dopamine is kind of a feel good, but what dopamine does is helps with the neurotransmission. When I have a thought to perform an action, dopamine is one of the many things that allows my brain to get the message to the target area. Without dopamine, my brain can scream the message all it wants and my target never gets it. That's the most terrifying idea for me. Because I don't know if you've noticed this, but I'm a relatively animated person. Like I have these big grand hand gestures. I honestly, if you tied my arms down, I'm not sure if I could continue to talk.
I'm the same way.
I think I would become functionally mute.
Mhm. Use a lot of expressions with your hands and
Like-
everything.
Like,
Try doing it.
She is. Unless she is.
All right, I'm gonna try. All right, so
That's why she got quiet.
when I can't do it.
So to get you to stop talking, we just say hands down. Sorry.
When you're so this is one of the more terrifying things for me though, is to be trapped inside your own body with a conscious brain.
Yeah, no,
And there was a disease.
Alzheimer's?
It was not Alzheimer's. I can't remember what the name. It wasn't
Not dementia?
polio. It was back in the 60s, late 50s, early 60s, back then. But what happened was, there's actually a movie about it. It's a fabulous movie. Robin Williams. It's one of his first serious roles. It was amazing. It was called Awakenings with Robert De Niro. Go watch it. It's amazing.
I want to try it.
But what had happened was, with all of these patients who are now housed in a mental facility, they didn't have any dopamine production. And so their brain could scream the instructions all it wanted, and their bodies never got the message. And so that's terrifying for me. So they were completely aware of everything going on around them. They could hear, they could see, they could feel. Their brain was functioning normally, but their body was not receiving the message.
Is that kind of like what happens with people like that become like almost, I guess,
Like-
vegetables, but they
No.
can still be coherent?
We're talking normal brain function in this condition.
So it's kind of like the body's paralyzed, but the brain's working
Kind of paralyzed, but
because it won't move.
it doesn't move.
Right.
So what they ended up doing was experimenting with giving a synthetic dopamine. And suddenly all of these people who had been
Zombie-like state.
for years, some of them for decades, came alive. And it's a heartwarming movie. It's based on a true story. So if you ever want kind of a heartwarming, feel-good movie, Awakenings. And so they kept increasing and increasing and increasing the dopamine dosage, and it kind of woke them all up. So phenylalanine plays a role in the creation of that dopamine, which then gives you the ability to transmit those impulses.
So it's the communication from the brain to the nerve?
Yeah, it facilitates the communication.
Okay.
We also have adrenaline, which is our fight or flight. It's the thing that makes you scared. It's the thing that makes your heart race and your pupils dilate when you have a near miss accident for the 13th time in the Texas highway,
Oh my God.
and you're suddenly, oh my gosh, so vigil. That's epinephrine that is doing that. That's
We gotta pull over
adrenaline.
and throw up.
So that's phenylalanine. Melanin production, dopamine production, adrenaline production. My dog ate my homework. Yeah, whatever.
Vegas happened.
I know, right? Luckily now all of mine is
It's
safe.
my cats that eat my homework. Like I'll chew on the paper.
Right?
My dogs ate the paper plate on one of our cars outside of the house.
Oh.
We're just like, how do
He wanted to
explain
get
that?
pulled
So we
over.
got in the car now, just no paper plate.
No, he wants to
Oh
get
my
pulled over.
gosh.
Yeah,
All right,
apparently.
so taurine. We all know what species is taurine an essential amino acid for.
Okay.
Cats. It is used, oh, here's some big $5 medical terms. We also use it to help prevent and reduce the symptoms for cardiomyopathy. What?
Is that the disease?
That's the one.
Disease of the heart muscle. Nice, nailed it. Cardio, heart, myo, muscleopathy. Condition or disease of. So cardiomyopathy is any condition or disease of the heart. You could have dilated cardiomyopathy, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Those are just different diseases of the heart. It's also going to help your liver create bile salts. Bile salts, the bile itself, remember, is created in the liver and then concentrated in the gallbladder. And it's this taurine that helps your liver produce the bile salts, which in turn become concentrated bile and assist your small intestines in digestion. Also regulates calcium. Okay, so you guys remember and know with the muscle fiber, the role of calcium in the contraction of, you guys have done the muscles, I know that. So remember our actin and myosin, which are also what? Proteins, filaments, but I have a protein barrier called troponin. And calcium floods out of the sarcoplasmic reticulum. It binds with the troponin, converts it to tropomyosin, moving it like a curtain out of the way. Actin and myosin are able to interact. The muscle contracts. Calcium then floods out. The actin and myosin disengage. Calcium floods back to the sarcoplasmic reticulum and the muscle relaxes.
Okay.
Without calcium, none of that happens.
So the cycle, the process.
None of that happens.
He kind of borrows them and takes them.
He does, well, yes and no. So here, if you want an analogy, because I can. So imagine actin and myosin are star-crossed lovers. Actin, however, is the boy from the wrong side of the tracks. And myosin is the good girl. And they have fallen in love and her father will never approve. And so she is at the high school dance and him and his little gang of ruffians, the calcium gang, they're standing looking into the gymnasium. But we got all of these stupid nuns running around being the chaperones. And you know, we have this nun, her name is Sister Mary Troponin. And Sister Mary Troponin just keeps coming up, leave some room for Jesus. Leave some room for Jesus. And so how is our hero Actin gonna get in here? Calcium. Calcium comes in.
Oh my God.
And comes up to Sister Mary Troponin and is like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you doing? He can now come over and they run towards each other like Dreamweavers playing in the background.
Oh my God.
And they embrace appropriately. They embrace. Suddenly, Calcium's like, oh crap, jig is up. And he leaves. Sister Mary Troponin comes running over.
Split them up.
Splits them up.
Oh my God. That's funny.
I love it.
That's the whole ideal behind muscle contraction. Can't happen without calcium, which also can't happen without taurine.
Good side story.
I love it. I love it. It was almost like Pretty in Pink.
Cry baby.
Finally, we have histidine, threonine, and tryptophan. All three of these are really important during those formative growth and development stages because they are going to help our puppies and our kittens grow and develop normally. Histidine also aids in healing your wounds, and it's a precursor to histamine, which is your body's ability to identify and fight off allergens. Histamine is what causes and targets an immune response. When you breathe in the pine pollen, it's histamines that cause your immunity to start targeting your sinus cavity. If you get bitten by a bug and have an allergic reaction, histamine is the thing that does that. So what do you take to prevent that from happening? An antihistamine. Well, histamine is the precursor is histidine. So histidine just has to do a minor wee bit of conversion to turn himself into a histamine. And then tryptophan is metabolized into our feel goods. Serotonin, melatonin. Those are our feel-good, fuzzy, and tryptophan, as we know, does not cause you to get sleepy after eating turkey because it has to be taken on an empty stomach. Does tryptophan have sedative properties? Yes.
Large amount.
By itself, in large amounts. Certainly not what we're seeing in turkey.
You got
Well,
sneezing.
pretty sandy right now.
Really?
And that's our allergy. Achoo.
I think I would eat that tissue.
And I think, I'll give you guys a minute, I'll leave it on that slide. If I'm not mistaken, is that the last one?
That's the last one.
All right,
That's sleep till you're hungry, eat till you're sleepy is the last one.
so you know what that means.
My heart just like went
When's the
on.
test?
When do you want it to be?
Friday.
So you want it Friday?
We
already had tests on Friday.
That means we have 4 tests.
I like the tests on Friday.
Royals have 4 tests.
Friday.
I like doing tests on Fridays.
I think it's tough.
Would you prefer to do it during class or do you want to do it after school?
After school.
So lecture on Friday?
Either or. During class.
I'm
I'm
gonna
good
start that
with during
tomorrow.
class.
I think Zoom was.
Yeah, I have work, so during class will be easier for me.
Hang on, I can't hear you.
Some
Let me-
people have jobs.
I say during class. I feel like it's much better.
Yeah, because I work pretty late at night, so
Yeah,
when I can do
during
it during
class
class,
is
it's
definitely
easier.
preferable.
during class.
During class.
Because each of us always have like a test during the other classes, so it's better to just get them over with.
Gotcha, so the option, my options would be to open it like I did last week.
Yes,
At the beginning of class, close it at the end of class.
yes.
I can't leave it open longer than that
That's what I like.
during class time.
Okay.
Because I have to rationalize the
It's either
minutes
during
that
class
we
or
use
not.
during class.
Right.
So I can't say, okay, well, we didn't do anything during class time. If I leave it open till midnight, I can't prove that you did it during class time.
Right.
And I can't just go, we're not having class today, ha, ha, ha. Doesn't work that way. So I can either open and close it during class time, or I can open it at 3 o'clock Friday, close at 7 o'clock Saturday. I'm seeing a trend that we would prefer it during class time.
Zoom
Yes.
says during.
Zoom
Yes.
is overwhelmingly saying class.
During class.
The majority has spoken. I will be doing review on tomorrow. We will begin the water and vitamins. Those are 2 that we're gonna do together.
Okay.
Because they're both relatively
The
short.
minerals is long.
So, and the minerals is super long.
The one we just did, it was like, it was the red highlighted,
Yes,
only that.
that's the testable material. All right, so we're gonna plan to do the test on Friday. It will open at 8:40. It will close at 9:55. We will have the class time to do it. And tomorrow we are gonna get started on water and vitamins. We'll probably cover all of water tomorrow, and then we'll get started on vitamins. And those 2 will be a test unto themselves. All right, well, you guys have a most